Hi, folks. It's Mark Smith with Family Tree Brand Life Coaches. I have a video for you today called 7 Ways to Get Busy Living Instead of Getting Busy Dying. The other day, my wife and I were in our couples therapy session. And yes, even though we're newlyweds, we do couple work. And if you're a newlywed, you should be doing couple works too. Um, Marriage is hard. And if you base it on early enmeshment, you're headed into trouble. So we're not crisising or anything. We're just being proactive, and we're building an interdependent base in our marriage. So, but I was sitting there in the middle of the session, and then creativity tapped me on the shoulder and gave me these words and laid out the whole video like this. And I didn't have anything to write with, and I asked the therapist, do you mind if you give me a pad of paper and a pen? And the words that came to me were the words from the great movie Shawshank Redemption by the great hero of the movie, Andy Dufresne, where he's talking with Red, played by Morgan Freeman, and he says, it comes down to one simple choice. You need to get busy living, or you need to get busy dying. And this isn't a movie review, folks. I'm trying to talk with you about some truths about the nature of recovery, not about the movie. Every day is a battle for we who have experienced complex PTSD. Every day you can make choices to get busy living, or every day you can make choices to get busy dying. It's your choice. Whether it's Narcissistic Abuse Syndrome, complex PTSD, any addiction, sexual addiction, alcohol addiction, drug addiction, work addiction, food addiction, codependency, shame, abandonment issues, depression, a lack of self-care, you can get busy living or you can get busy dying. When you're working on your recovery effectively and you're thriving, you're living. And you're not only blessed in the present, but you are building blessing for your future. Whenever you're involved in a lack of self-care and not treating your complex PTSD, and you're involved in addiction, you're slowly dying, my friends. And it isn't one or the other. 1 month you could be mainly living, the next month you could be mainly dying. The occurrence of relapse in this process is prevalent and often, and it's part of the process, I think, really. So, went to the movie the other night. Thank you for your service about PTSD and soldiers who had served in Iraq. Don't go see that movie if your PTSD is raw. Mine shattering was 2 3/4 years ago, and the movie devastated me. Their PTSD was caused by war, but it was the exact same symptoms as what I had, when I was going through this at my worst. And I just saw myself in every frame, and it was just brutally painful. And those guys were trying hard to save their lives and get treatment. And you could see how PTSD it followed three friends, and you could see how PTSD could kill all three of them. Did kill one of them. But beware of the intensity and power of that movie. I was going to make a video on that movie, but I can't because it's just too raw for me. I cried all the way home. I cried the rest of the evening. It jolted me just seeing the raw symptoms of PTSD. So one thing I love about the movie The Shawshank Redemption is the last word, redemption. Our recovery process is all about redemption. It's not about revenge. It's about redemption. Okay, so just for those of you who haven't seen the movie, I'm going to share a few quotes and then I'll get into the 7 ways to get busy living versus get busy dying. Andy Dufresne, played by Tim Robbins. This movie is 20-something years old. But he came across as meek and mild when he actually was the fiercest warrior, walking around on the planet. He became a legend with his intelligence, his compassion, and his fierce desire for justice and for escape. Ellis Redding, played by Morgan Freeman, said, "I must admit, I didn't think much of Andy at first. When I laid eyes on him, he looked like a stiff breeze might blow him over." That was my first impression of the man. So you can't always tell how fierce of a warrior somebody is by their fragile looks. During my almost 3 years of shattering, I've looked pretty fragile most of the time. But underneath that was a determined fellow who had these 7 qualities that I'm going to get into. Red said about Andy Dufresne, he had a quiet way about him. He had a walk and a talk that just wasn't normal around here. He strolled like a man in the park without a care or worry in the world, like he had an invisible coat that would shield him from this place. So here are 7 ways that you can get busy living or get busy dying. And they're taken from this character, Andy Dufresne. Number 1, Andy Dufresne had this invisible coat that shielded him from narcissistic abuse. He had a solid sense of himself. He knew who he was. He knew he was not guilty. And he had a solid sense of self. When he spent time in solitaire, he said, "I've got the music inside me. They can't take it." So he was shielded by hope. He was shielded by a sense of self. And he was shielded because he was a man with a plan. The second thing you need to do, so as you go through your life, and you might be working in an environment with narcissists, you might be in a marriage with a narcissist, as you develop your sense of self and build a robust recovery process, you can put on that invisible coat and it can shield you, even when you're living right in the midst of evil, right in the midst of injustice, right in the midst of narcissists seeming to be in control. You can detach and you can have power. The second thing you'll need is hope. Andy Dufresne said to Red, "Remember, Red, hope is a good thing. may be the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. I was working with a gal this week, and she's young, she's smart, she has a good job, she's attractive, but she has a narcissistic parent, and she doesn't have family support, and she's been involved with several narcissists, and she fears that there's no hope, that she's never going to be happy. And I wish she could see what I see, because I see a woman with a very bright future, because she's doing her work on herself, and she's building that invisible coat. And I was trying to instill and inject a little bit of hope in the process, because if you do your work and you're patient, you will come out on the other side. Andy Dufresne had a lot of patience. It took him 20 years to dig that hole out of Shawshank prison. I remember early on working with a man who had narcissistic abuse syndrome and complex PTSD, and he was shattered and had bad circumstances. And I remember me just barely surviving, and he said, "Hey, dude, if you just get out of bed and put one foot out of another and go to work, that's a victory." This man sent me a message recently saying he's moved into a new home. He's in a happy, healthy relationship. So he's a blessed man because he had patience. Number 4, in the meantime, as you are recovering from this horrific attack on the nervous system of your body, don't feel sorry for yourself. Get busy helping and serving other people. So when you have a solid recovery, you bring life and blessing to everybody around you. So here was innocent Andy Dufresne in a prison. He could have chosen to be bitter, but instead he built a library, and he wrote every day asking for resources, and he used his influence with the warden, and he got GEDs for men, and he helped to educate and tutor men. He was a fountain of light and life and help. And in the meantime, while he was working on his escape plan, he was choosing to live. He was getting busy living instead of dying. He could have sat in his cell and hung himself and been depressed, but instead he got busy building a source of insight and stimulation and joy and education for all the men in the prison. Number 5, you have to be willing to do anything to achieve your freedom. You might need to spend money you don't have to go to on-site to a treatment center. You might need to spend money you don't have to see a therapist. You might need to go, to quite a few 12-step meetings on a weekly basis. You might need to watch a lot of YouTube videos. You might need to get up early and exercise. You might need to do yoga. Red said, in 1966, Andy Dufresne escaped from Shawshank prison. All they found of him was a muddy set of prison clothes, a bar of soap, and an old rock hammer damn near worn down to the nub. I remember thinking it would take a man 600 years to tunnel through the wall with it. Old Andy did it in less than 20. Andy crawled to freedom through 500 yards of shit, smelling foulness I couldn't even imagine or I don't want to imagine. 500 yards, that's the length of 5 football fields, just shy of half a mile. You know, folks, recovery from complex PTSD and narcissistic abuse, it's like taking our little rock hammer and slowly hammering away at the prisons of our symptoms, the prisons of our powerlessness, the prisons of our financial debt, the prisons of our bad reputations, the prisons of flying monkeys throwing rocks at us, and digging our way out. And then we get to crawl through 500 yards of shit. That's a great metaphor for this recovery process. It's about grunting it out. It's about being determined. It's about getting up in the morning and doing your meditations when you don't feel like it. It's about busting your ass to get out of debt. It's about being fierce in your self-care, because if you're not fierce in your self-care, you're going to relapse. I've been struggling lately with a lot of my symptoms coming back because I haven't maintained that work-life balance. So many of you out there are contacting me, and it's lovely to have that problem, but I've blocked off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, no, Monday. I blocked off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 4 days a week for connection with my wife, connection with myself, self-care, and creativity. And the days where I'm focused on work is only Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And it's hard because I turn away business. But if I don't take care of me, I'm not going to be any help to anybody. But recovery is about crawling through 500 yards of foul-smelling waste, of debt, of humiliation. For some people, it might be an arrest. For some people, it might be losing your children and then having to win them back. It might be rehabbing a career. It might be switching careers. It certainly is going to be a lot of crying, a lot of physical symptoms of PTSD in your nervous system. Number 6 thing about Andy Dufresne that you will need is he did not have a victim mentality, my friends. If anybody could have had a victim mentality, it would have been Andy Dufresne. He was an innocent man. I tell people there are no victims, but on rare occasions in adult life there are victims. This man was wrongly accused of murder, and yet he didn't have victim mentality. He said to Red, "It was just bad luck. It floats around. It's got to land on somebody. It was my turn, that's all. I was in the path of the tornado. I just didn't expect the storm would last as long as it did." So that's a good example, a good metaphor for complex PTSD, being in the path of the tornado and having the storm long last more than we thought it would. At another point, not in shame, but in self-knowledge, he said, "Red, I killed her. Yeah, I wasn't the one who pulled the trigger, but I wasn't open with her emotionally, and I didn't meet her emotional needs, and I put her in that situation where she got killed." So he was taking a fearless and searching moral inventory about what he did do instead of complaining about what he didn't do. So he genuinely was proactive and non-bitter and non-victimy. And folks, I submit to you that you have not been victimized in your adult life. You recruited every narcissist who's ever hurt you. You didn't protect yourself. You didn't see the red flags. They don't have the power to do that without your full cooperation and support. Your narcissist problem isn't a problem with narcissists, my friends. It's a problem with the unhealed wounds of your childhood. And it's a problem with you not seeing red flags and you not setting boundaries. Number 7, Andy Dufresne did not focus on vengeance, but he was committed to truth and to justice. This is Red's words, Morgan Freeman, as he was referring to the warden committing suicide. I'd like to think that the last thing that went through his head, other than that bullet, was to wonder how in the hell had Andy Dufresne ever gotten the best of him. So when we're fierce, when we're focused, when we're working our recovery, when we're choosing life, ultimately we will get justice. You will be able to impact legal systems. You will be elevated. You will get a promotion. People will see you for who you are. You'll have more power than the flying monkeys. But don't focus on vengeance. Focus on integrity, on assertiveness, on fighting a good fight, and on ultimately being committed to uncovering truth and getting justice. So, my friends, in life, it comes down to a simple choice. You need to get busy living, or you need to get busy dying. Every single day that you live, my friends, you're either living a little more or you're dying a little more. So, practice your self-care, do your meditations, get enough sleep, get enough exercise, set boundaries with unhealthy people, find things that give you joy and go have joy, get support from friends, do EMDR therapy, do talk therapy, get massages, do yoga, do all the things that work for you that can bless and enrich your life. Take care of your body. One thing I've struggled with is with being real stressed out with a lot of things going on, with still cleaning up some past narcissistic abuse by proxy. I've been eating too much. I've gained some weight. So that will kill me. If I keep that up and I don't exercise, I'm choosing death instead of choosing life. But you know what? I'm determined to not let that happen. Every once in a while, you just need a sort of a encouragement. And I was encouraged by the ferocity of Andy Dufresne's vision, by the coat that he wore around himself that kept him from being contaminated by hopelessness and darkness. I was impressed with his hope, his patience, his serving other people's around him, his determination to do anything to get to freedom, his not having victim mentality, and his not focusing on vengeance. Get busy living, folks. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do that. Family Tree Brand Life Coaches. Tuesday night, Renda's going to be doing the live stream show. I think I might join her. I've been struggling with self-care, and if I'm too tired, I'm not going to join her. But I don't have a super busy day that day, so I probably will. But we'll see how it goes. Also, my books on abandonment issues and narcissistic abuse syndrome and shame and affair recovery and marital issues and the basics of recovery, I've noticed a real strong increase in the sales of my books. I even on Amazon am starting to sell paperback books. I have one of them set up for that, but I'm going to set them all up where you can buy paperbacks. So buy the books. The one on abandonment and the one on narcissistic abuse recovery are especially good, and the one on shame. So join us Tuesday night at 8 o'clock for the live stream, and have a wonderful Sunday, and get busy living, my dear friends.